Eric Martin here, welcoming you to the last week of class. That's right, the last week of class. So, this week you have your third exam. The format is exactly the same as the previous two exams. So, if you've done well on the previous two, use the same process. If you didn't do so hot on the previous two, find a different process, right? Also, in terms of being the same bug in that exam. Not anything I can do about it except to just make the corrections after the fact. So, if you think you miss a whole bunch of them that you know you got right, don't worry about it. Just send me an email, let me know. I'll deal with it. I'll figure it out. Okay, so your exam. You have to have that exam completed by this Friday, 11:59 p.m. Should be open by the time you watch this. All right, so on the one hand, that's it. On the other hand, since I have your attention, there's a few things I'd like to say. First off, course evaluations. Please fill out the student course evaluations for this class. The online course evaluations always have a very low response rate. And that's too bad because the online courses are the ones I have the hardest time gauging what students actually got out of the class. I am really interested in knowing what works for you, what you would like to see in the class, what you would like to see more of. So please let me know so I can work on making this class a better learning experience for you. Also, I want to use this opportunity to test out a speech. I got a speech that I give for this class in my face-to-face classes. And y'all are missing out by not hearing it, right? So I want to test it out in the online format. And but it's a little different, I think. So anyway, we'll test it out, see how it goes over online. Gen Ed wise, word on the street is that this is a difficult 100 level course, at least the face-to-face version. Again, I got a less of a sense of the online version. But for a 100 level class, I hear it's a little bit difficult. I'm not so worried about that. I think your courses ought to be challenging. I think that when I do see student responses, frequently I get, one response that's like, oh, there was so much work in this class, so much reading. And then I get another response that says, I learned more history in this class than I have in any other class before. There's a correlation between the two. There's a correlation between the level of work and the level of reading that you put into a class and the level of learning that you put into a class. On the one hand, yes, some classes can be, unreasonable one way or the other. But in a very real way, you get what you put in, right? But in terms of learning, I want y'all to think a little bit about what you learned in this class. Because that's the whole point of being here, right? Is to learn things. To learn things about history, to learn things about study skills, to learn things about writing, to learn things about how to learn things about yourself. But I don't think we spend enough time, contemplating this stuff. So after this video's over, I'd like for you just to think about that a little bit before you fill out that SCE. What is it that I learned in the class? A few things I hope you learned. I hope that this class generated some interest in learning more history for you in some way, shape, or form. I take it for granted that I'm the first professionally trained historian you've had a class from. I hope that's not true, but it is for most people. Most of us don't have historians as high school teachers. I also take it for granted this is the last history course you'll ever take. So, the pressure's on me. Try to get you interested in stuff. And so I hope that we've worked on the skills and the resources and some elements of history to where you're interested in pursuing some angle of history in the future. Now, let's be clear. What we've done in this class, if we were putting a jigsaw puzzle together, is we've put the flat pieces of the outline together, right? And if you've taken the other half of the class, maybe you have a complete outline. And you got a few pieces here and a few pieces there, but most of it's blank, right? And that's for you to put together for the rest of your life. You just keep putting that jigsaw puzzle together. Oh, I like this stuff over here for a while, and I like this stuff over here for a while. That's the way it works. And you put it together, and you try to figure out what kind of picture of a historical past you can develop on your own with the skills you've learned here. Open up that Traditions and Encounters. Open up Worlds of History. You want a book on a particular topic? There's lots of suggestions in there. Okay. I also hope that you learned something about the relevance of learning about the past to understanding something about the contemporary world. And just learning something about the contemporary world is probably not good enough, right? Because it's one thing to understand the world around us, but then we want to use that understanding to influence the world around us, right? A few other things. I hope you learned something about the importance of looking at history with a wide-angle lens and other topics as well. Now, there are some very good reasons to use a microscope and to look at something in a lot of detail. But I also think that it's important to be able to broaden it out and look at the broader context of what's going on. Not only historically, but personally. That's a life skill. A life skill to pull back and be able to see your behaviors, someone else's behaviors, in a broader context of events. Same thing about multiple perspectives. I hope the class has helped you look at history from multiple perspectives, because this civilization, this culture, this person up here, and this civilization, this culture, this person down here, they may not see the historical events the same ways. And there may be another angle that sees it completely different. And, that's life too, right? And so I hope that you've developed the ability to think a little bit about why different people, different cultures might not see things the same way, period. I think that's good for your thinking abilities. And these skills, being able to look from multiple angles, being able to look at the context, developing a higher level analytical skills, these are good for any major. These are good for any major. In fact, I encourage you to consider a history minor. History minor goes good with business. History minor goes good with biology. History minor goes good with English. History minor goes good with sociology. It's a good minor to have. Gives you good skills. Okay. For those of y'all that are graduating this semester, congratulations. Nationally, that's only 25% of the adult population. In the state of Idaho, it's only 20% of the adult population. So, congratulations on your accomplishment. It's a big deal. For those of y'all who are not graduating, see you next semester. Stay in school. Statistically, you're more likely to graduate if you don't drop out for a semester. I know sometimes life interferes and that's just the way it is, but statistically, that's what happens. For those of y'all that are in, this is your very first college class ever, congratulations on making it to the end, right? I think it's important for y'all to think about why you're here. What's the point of all this? College has got to be more than just, this collection of classes that I took and now I graduated and somehow I have a college education. But if it's going to have a purpose, you got to put it there. This is the reason I'm here. This is, why I'm here. This is the point of my college education. Now, for me personally, I think your answer to this whole question about the purpose of college education, the answer has to be something along these lines. To teach yourself, to learn how to educate yourself on any topic you want for the rest of your life. That has to be, in my opinion, the main point of a college education, to learn how to educate yourself on any topic you want for the rest of your life. So think about that for a little bit. A couple of other kind of random, they're going to sound random, but they're not. Random things I want you to think about for everybody. Student loans. Try to avoid them. Try to stay out of debt. Take a little extra time if you have to. Those student loans can transform themselves into an economic prison for you. So think about that. Now, for some of us, I was one of you, working class kid, student loans are the only way to go to college. So when you take them out like a business loan. All right? A lot of y'all have got friends who maybe they took out $80,000 from the bank because they're going to start a farm or they're going to start some kind of a business. And that friend is thinking about getting the most out of that investment possible because they're under no delusions that they're not going to have to pay that investment back. They're under no delusions that they have not just rolled the dice on that investment in an effort to have a better tomorrow. You're doing the same thing if you're taking out student loans. Think about those student loans as a business investment that you've taken out on yourself and make sure you get the most for your investment. All right, finally, quest for a job, meaning of life. In addition to college education, you also want to come out with some sort of, employability, right? So, the big trick, right, between now and whenever is for you to try to find some kind of job, some kind of career path that is going to allow you to make enough money to pay the rent. But to do it in some kind of way that you really enjoy. Jobs are deep expressions of ourselves. I hope y'all are all able to find a job that is as much in tune with your own nature as my job is. Now, not everybody should have my job because not everybody has my nature, right? You got to think about what it is in your nature. If you really, really, really love to be outside, guess what? You'll be looking at outside jobs. If you really, really, really love to do whatever, anyway, you guys get the idea. You got to think a little bit about your own natures and then try to swing this college education, right, into some sort of employability so that you can make money and be happy at the same time. Yeah, sure, just like everybody else, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, gotta go to work today. Sure, it's a job. That's what people do. But for the most part, you want to show up and say, hey, I'm in the shop today. Glad to see everybody. Here I am to do my work. So I hope that you are able to find yourself a job where you can have as much fun as I have with mine. And having said that, YouTube is going to cut me off in like 10 seconds. So thank you for taking this class. Please think about taking the second half of the class. Think about taking some history face-to-face at LCSC. See you next time.